Hey, Lorenzo here. Welcome to episode 14 of KSP, next aptly titled Lunar Re-entry, because that's the main topic of this episode. We are flying several missions using our trusty Thor 7 core, which is, by the way, almost up for replacement. Let's get into the first mission, the Ranger 1-4. We're taking a Ranger probe, basically a carbon copy of the last one, and we're trying to send it to Venus. Why? Because we need science points and the window came around. Here we have the first stage of this Ranger rocket burning out. Venus is a nice place to launch to because it allows for daily launches. Oh dear, the first stage suffered a failure, but it was like 1 second before the fuel ran out, so the impact is projected to be minimal. Now, we're still using cryogenic fuels on this upper stage, which means that there's really not a lot of leeway in fine-tuning trajectories and waiting until the proper moment. Here we are nearing the end of this upper stage burnout, and I tried my best to get a nice Venus intercept, but as you can see in the map view here, we haven't even escaped the Earth yet. Maybe the failure did take away a little bit too much delta V, or my trajectory planning was a little bit off. Either way, with the cryogenic upper stages, I don't really feel too comfortable waiting a couple of orbits and spending a lot of time fine-tuning intercepts. So as you can see, we are still a good bit of delta V short of actually reaching Venus. So yeah, what can I say? Unfortunately, we have got another, well, piece of space junk. This is heading into solar orbit, so even though it looks really pretty over the sunset, the sunset over the poles looks really pretty. This is going to be out the range of communication satellite. Alright, and next more important mission, Orwell 1. Yeah, and I'm a bit late, the audio isn't desync, this is all me. What we're doing here is we're going to send Bob the scientist into a polar orbit. I'm time accelerating this rather than skipping over it because it's a really nice, beautiful looking ascent thanks to the new mods. Anyway, he has brought a camera with returnable film. And this is actually how the world's first spy satellites worked. This was before the age of fast radio communications and onboard computing. They used analog cameras and actually shot the film back to Earth, which would then land somewhere and be recovered, developed, and inspected. How far have we come? Anyway, Bob is going to do something very similar, except he's going to be right there to collect the film into his capsule rather than drop them back to Earth piecemeal. He's going to circle the Earth a couple of times, secondary objective here being the endurance record of 2 days. And here you can behold the spacecraft. I'm also experimenting with the manifest mod, which has been installed since the beginning, but I haven't really paid attention to. And this allows interesting things like jettisoning fuel, which is nice if you have a cryogenic stage where a lot of the oxygen has boiled off, leaving you with a surplus of kerosene, which of course you don't really want to carry it around, because that's just dead weight if there's no oxidizer to couple that with. And of course, if you can dump that before commencing your burn, that's more efficient than taking it all the way as dead weight. None of that is applicable right now though, but I am just experimenting with the window. As you can see there, you can also use controls to toggle lights, antennae, and stuff like that. Now, this spacecraft with Bill in it, taking photographs and chilling on the outside, beholding the splendor of space. Launching this craft, I already experienced that adding a little bit of mass on the upper stages has a rather drastic impact on the flight profile and the performance of the first stage. This stage has performed well for almost 10 episodes, and it has sent some payloads into orbit and to, well, almost to other planets, not quite because we couldn't get the launch window straight. But I feel we cannot really pile on a lot of more mass on it. The burn times are limited, the thrust is relatively limited, so we're gonna have to look at new rockets at some point in the future. But now let's return to Bob, who is floating outside, doing his camera thing and heading back into the command module. Now, I put him in a polar orbit so he can spy on everyone on the planet, but the most important bit is that he gets to a lot of biomes. Sorry about that, my throat is acting up. Anyway, he is spending his 2 days very productively, circling the planet, snapping pictures, waving to the denizens of Earth, who cannot see him because they can't see that far. And he is diligently collecting the film, taking it back into his capsule, and waiting until his 2-day timer is up, which is, well, almost really. You can see the electric charge is still the limiting factor on the spacecraft, so if we get some new solar panels, we should be able to send a man to the moon and back using this basic upper stage, as long as they can recharge their batteries. But that's neither here nor there, that's for the future, because we don't have more advanced solar panels yet. Anyway, with his mission complete, Bob returns to Earth in a blazing re-entry. You can see here he's pulling almost 9 Gs, and you can see the reaction control jets actually firing as I turn the capsule to modify the descent. We've seen this a couple of times, and this was no surprise in any way. So we can skip forward to the descent into the ocean. Pay attention to the altimeter. It is counting down the last meters until the mission can be deemed a success. Bob has set the endurance record, and we have confirmation of photo retrieval right now. Objective achieved. That's a good mission. Now, before jumping into the next mission, I want to talk to you about the future of the space program. You don't have to pay attention to what's happening in the background, but if you want to, you can look around and get a feel for where the program is at. In the past few missions, we have gathered quite a lot of science points, and there are quite a few things I want. I want bigger rocket engines, I want bigger procedural tanks, they're in the construction node, I want better instrumentation and better solar panels, and those 3 things are basically the big things. I also want to design a new first stage that I can reuse over and over again, since that takes quite a lot of time, easily 2-3 hours. And I want to do this live stream, but I also want to do it with all these nodes research. So I'm going to do a couple more missions, and then probably just time warp a few years into the future, spend all the science points we have now, and then just design a killer new rocket. And as I said, I'll probably live stream that. But for now, let's fly the next mission, the Retriever 2. We tried this before, but then it failed thanks to cryogenic boil off. We're gonna return payloads from lunar orbit. You can see the rocket is a fair bit taller than the previous ones. It's also ascending quite a bit slower. That's because there is actually this is now a 3-stage rocket. The second stage is a hypergolic. Well, no, it's not a hypergolic one. It's a storable propellant second stage. And then there's a hypergolic third stage with the science payload and heat shield attached. Now you can see this rocket is quite a bit heavier, and as the booster separated, it was only pulling about 5 Gs. In previous incarnations was about 9 to even 10, so this stage really has to struggle. You can see the same here. It's now near apoapsis, and we're having to burn at this awkward angle just to maintain altitude and not fall down out of the sky. That's obviously not optimal, but it's because, as I said, the first stage here is really struggling to put out enough acceleration to maintain a good launch profile. Now, I could learn how to fly it this way, but I could also build a better first stage. Again, this requires better technology because we don't actually have the avionics unit to control a stage of this size, which comes in a small package. Fortunately, without avionics, you can still order the flight computer to do a prograde burn, which is what it did, and this worked out fine. Again, it's a little awkward because the second stage has only one ignition, and it puts the craft into rather more than a low Earth orbit. Meaning you have to time your launch with the position of the moon, which is not that hard, but it's something to pay mind of. Now let's talk about this third stage here. It's a nighttime burn, so it's not too interesting, but this is a hypergolic pressure fed engine. That means infinite restarts at the cost of lower specific impulse and a heavier tank with the service module type. But the infinite restarts and the storable propellant, that's huge. It allows me to set up nice trajectories like these with a couple of burns and not worrying about propellant boil off, because it doesn't happen. It's stable at the temperatures we have ambient. So we go forwards, we circle the moon, we get our science payloads. I brought the biological payload containers, and we're gonna head back. I mean, these missions take a long time to fly, but I'm going to go through them rather quickly because I think you know how to set up maneuver nodes and time warp to planets and gather science. That's not the most interesting bit. It's actually, well, the summary, I hope. If not, please do let me know in the comments and I can make some different kinds of videos. Anyway, we're heading back here. The engine burn is about 100 meters per second, and as I said, the propellant didn't boil off, so we can use it at the moon. And here we have a time lapse of the rocket stage crashing back to Earth. As you can see, it's rotating madly. That's due to the like 10,000 times time acceleration. And we're gonna head into re-entry. Now there is a slight problem. It is really dark, and I've been so used to capsule re-entries that I want to orient it retrograde, because that's how capsule re-entries work. But damn it, it's the wrong way around for probes. So I did figure it out, but I figured that out too late, and I'm now frantically trying to reorient the probe before it explodes. And as you can see now, that did not quite work out. So we had a completely successful mission, except because I'm an idiot, I re-entered ass backwards, and well, here it explodes for good measure once more. So observant viewers will have noted that the transition from this view to the re-entry was a bit jarring. That's because the second mission I flew actually had the nice daylit footage that you just watched of the whole mission. The re-entry though is from the first mission. That failed. Second mission, here we go. So to recap, I flew everything again, but I'm not showing you because it's like literally almost exactly the same. We're gonna re-enter now over a daylit part of the planet, and I know the mistake I made, so hopefully this is gonna work out. I put the periapsis a little bit below ground level just so we don't burn up screeching through the upper atmosphere at like 10-11 kilometers per second, because my god, these lunar re-entries, they're really fast. I couldn't run that fast. Anyway, I have checked that the ground stations are within range of the normal Omni transmitter and retracted the antennae. Now that we're in the upper atmosphere, quickly sneaking in some science points. Of course, the craft is loaded with biological sample containers. And, well, double check, we're having the heat shield facing forwards. We're at 100 kilometers now. We're gonna slam into the thicker bits of the atmosphere any second now. And there's really not a lot we can do. This thing does not have like an offset center of gravity. We cannot steer. We can only like cross our fingers and hope the heat shield pulls through. There comes the heat. There come the G's. We have quite a bit of deceleration to do. And we're sinking pretty darn rapidly. We're sinking at like 1.7 kilometers per second. That's probably not that great. G's are off the scale. Heating is completely manageable, but we're kind of dying thanks to the G-forces here. They're off the scale. We're decelerating at like hundreds of meters per second squared, and the probe really doesn't stand up to that well. There it goes. Crushed by G-forces. But we know what to do. The deceleration hit like 5-6 Gs at an altitude of 60-ish kilometers. So next time we're going to put our periapsis at that altitude, and then that should work out. It's not going to happen this episode though. Thank you so much for watching. Keep an eye out for the live stream where we'll develop a new first stage some point in the future. I don't know exactly when. Probably be at a very inopportune moment, but that's going to be archived to YouTube as well, of course. That's all I want to talk to you about today. Once more, thanks for watching. See you next time.